The stars were cold. A small escape pod floated silently through the darkness. No engines, no lights. No movement except the slow spin of the pod as it drifted endlessly through space. Inside it, a child lay still. Her skin was pale blue, glowing. Faintly, her hair shimmered like starlight. Her name was Ilari, the last child of the Eleron people. Her world was gone, burned by war, her family lost in fire. Now, she was the final breath of a dying race. The distress signal had been playing. For hours. Life form detected. Species, Eleron. Condition, critical, requesting medical assistance. Please respond. It repeated over and over. No one answered. Galactic Council headquarters, Core System 12 species, sat around a giant silver table. The room was filled with soft lights and high technology. They were the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The Galactic Council decided peace, war, trade, and who lived or died. A floating screen showed the signal from the escape pod. An Eleron child, muttered the Brock delegate, his tentacles twitching. Why should we care? They are extinct, said another coldly. Saving her changes nothing. The council president, a tall insectoid from the Scarn Dominion, nodded. We cannot help every lost soul in the stars. This is a low priority. Case. A vote was called. 12 lights blinked red. Motion denied. The signal was marked. Non-urgent. Forgotten. And the chamber moved on. Edge of human-controlled space. A troll ship Valkyrie Commander Raylan Joss sat at the helm of his scout ship, sipping bad coffee. The Valkyrie was small and old, one of Earth's border patrol vessels. Its job was boring. Scan the edge of human space, watch for pirates, and report anomalies. Sir, said the young officer beside him. We picked up a strange signal. Raylan frowned. Put it on. The message echoed through the ship. Life form detected. Species, Eleron. Condition, critical. Requesting medical assistance. Please respond. Raylan stood up. Eleron? The officer looked confused. Should we report it to command? No, Raylan said quietly. Plot a course. We're going in. But sir, the signal is outside council space. We don't have clearance. I said plot a course. Raylan's voice was calm, but firm. I'm not leaving a child to die. Space. Approaching the pod, the Valkyrie burned through space at full speed. They passed dead stars and abandoned stations. Nothing moved out here. It was the edge of the galaxy, where law ended and silence began. Inside the medical bay, crew prepared for what they might find. The pilot's voice came over the speaker. We have visual. Pod ahead. Raylan entered the bridge and stared at the screen. There it was. A tiny pod, barely bigger than a car, spinning slowly. Cracks covered its surface. The signal was weak seconds from failing. Lock on with tractor. Beam. Bring it in. The ship shuddered as the pod was pulled into the docking bay. Medical team now. Inside the pod, the door hissed open. Raylan stepped inside. It was cold ice on the walls. Life support was failing. And there she was, curled in a corner, barely breathing. Valerie. Her skin flickered with light as if her body was fighting to stay alive. Her chest rose and fell slowly, each breath a struggle. Knelt beside her and touched her shoulder. She flinched, but did not wake. He turned to his crew. Get her to medical. Now. Medical bay. Ours laterally lay on a bed, covered in soft thermal blankets. Tubes and sensors were connected to her body. A human doctor moved between machines, checking her vitals. She's stable for now, the doctor said. But her DNA is completely alien. We've never treated anyone like her. Raylan watched silently through the glass. He didn't know why, but he felt something deep inside a pull. Maybe it was because he had lost his own daughter 5 years ago. Maybe it was guilt. Or maybe it was just the right thing to do. He stepped into the room and sat beside her. "I don't know if you can hear me," he said softly, "but you're safe now. You're not alone." Back at Galactic Council, news spreads. A notification beeped across Council systems. Human patrol vessel has intercepted unauthorized signal. Rescued subject, one Eleron child. Violation of non-interference. Code: the council chambers exploded in anger. The humans interfered again. They broke protocol. They think they can save everyone. The Skarn president slammed the claw on the table. We warned them not to interfere, and they did it anyway. The fear in the room was growing. They saved an Eleron whispered. "The Brock. Do you know what that could mean?" "What?" "Ellerons were once said to have psychic gifts, powers beyond science. If she survives, the balance of power could shift. Then we can't let her survive." A dark silence fell over the chamber. On board Valkyrie, Alari wakes her eyes, open slowly bright silver, glowing faintly in the dim light. She gasped. Dot machines beeped. Raylan was there, holding a cup of water. "Easy, you're safe." She stared at him, unsure, frightened. "I'm Commander Raylan. You're on a human ship. We found you." Tears welled in her eyes. She tried to speak, but only whispered. "Everyone gone." Raylan nodded. "I know. I'm sorry." She sat up slowly. "Why save me?" He gave a sad smile. "Because someone had to." Ending scene. Council orders assassins in a shadowed room. Council agents receive new instructions. Track the human ship. Eliminate the child. Final hook for part 2. As the Valkyrie moved deeper into space, unknowingly being followed, Alari stood on the bridge with Raylan. Her hand touched the glass, her eyes glowing brighter, and the stars responded. The forgotten edges of the galaxy. On board, Commander Raylan stood on the bridge, staring at the signal on the screen. It blinked slowly faint, almost gone, but it was there. A child's cry for help, and no one else had answered. "Any change?" Raylan asked. Lieutenant Harris shook her head. "No, sir. Still the same pattern. Weak energy. Life signs? 1. Fading." Raylan's jaw tightened. "Time to arrival? 14 minutes. Raylan looked out the front viewport. Stars stretched in silence. Somewhere out there, a little girl was dying. Across the galaxy, in the central chambers of the Galactic Council, 100 alien species sat in a glowing ring. Each one represented a power, a nation, or a race. In the center, a hologram showed the signal from the child's escape pod. The signal blinked. A voice, small and tired, echoed in the chamber. "Please, anyone." The council elder, a tall creature with silver skin and 6 eyes, turned to the group. "This is the last signal of the Allerine species. Their world was destroyed 3 cycles ago. This child is the final survivor." A fish-like alien called Granu flicked his tail in disgust. "So what? The Allerine broke council laws. They chose isolation. They made enemies. Let them vanish." Another, a robotic being named VIX99, agreed. Assisting this child would be a violation of the Non-Interference Pact. A voice spoke softly. Admiral Dren of the Varrock. His long cloak shimmered as he stood. "You are all cowards. A child is a child. She is no threat. She deserves help." "But her DNA may carry old technologies," Granu argued. "She is dangerous." The vote was called. 100 lights blinked red. The motion to ignore the distress call was passed. Back on the Indigo Star Raylan, read the report from the Council. "Do not interfere," it said. "This is a non-critical species. Maintain distance and delete logs." He crushed the message in his fist. "Prepare docking sequence," he said. Lieutenant Harris looked shocked. "Sir, that's a direct order from the Council. If we disobey—" Raylan turned to face the crew. "We're not the Council. We're human. We don't leave children to die." Silence filled the bridge. Then, "I, Commander." The crew got to work. The escape pod was barely intact. Its hull was cracked, solar panels shredded. It drifted slowly, tumbling near a dead star. The Indigo Star locked onto it and pulled it in with tractor beams. Inside, everything was dark. Air was thin. Lights flickered. Ilari lay curled in the back corner of the pod, her skin pale blue and glowing faintly. Her long silver hair floated around her face. She wasn't moving. Raylan rushed in with the medics. He lifted her gently. She was too light. Like holding smoke. "She's not breathing," the medic said. Raylan didn't hesitate. "CPR go." They worked fast, using both human and alien medical techniques. After 10 long seconds, she gasped. Her eyes opened bright violet, full of fear. Raylan leaned down. "You're safe now," she blinked. Her lips trembled. Are you a dream?" "No," Raylan said softly. "I'm human." She whispered one word. "Help." In the medbathy kept her under watch. She was weak, dehydrated, and scared. She didn't speak much, but she clung to a small silver charm around her neck. Memory of her people. Raylan sat beside her bed that night. "Why were you alone out there?" he asked gently. Ilari looked at him with wide eyes. "My planet, it burned. The skies turned red. My mother placed me in the pod. She said, 'Run.'" She paused. "I waited. I thought someone would come." Raylan's throat tightened. "You were strong," he said. "You waited a long time." She nodded. "But no one came. Until you." Far away. A secret meeting in a hidden chamber on a moon station. 3 members of the Galactic Council spoke in shadows. "She survived," said one. "The humans found her." "Impossible. The signal was jammed." "They picked it up anyway. Now she's with them." "What if she remembers the Alarine archives? The data vaults?" "She must be eliminated." A silence followed. Then one said, "We will leak their location. Let the mercenaries handle it." Back on the Indigo, Sterilare was recovering. She walked now, slowly. She stayed close to Raylan and the crew. She was quiet, but her eyes watched everything. "She's learning fast," Harris noted. "Too fast," Raylan agreed. "She's not an ordinary child." But before they could say more, alarms rang across the ship. The human scout ship Aurora's Reach glided through the void, silent and swift. Its engines hummed softly as it moved toward the origin of the distress signal, the dying escape pod of Ilari. The last of her kind, Commander Raylan stood at the main observation window, arms crossed behind his back. His eyes watched the stars, but his mind replayed Alari's weak signal. "Please, anyone, please." He couldn't forget the desperation in that voice. It was small, fragile, the voice of a child who had no one, ETA to the signal source. He asked, not turning from the window. Lieutenant Sira, the ship's navigator, replied, 4 hours, Commander. We've slowed to avoid overshooting the pod. It's drifting faster than expected." Raylan nodded slowly. Behind him, the crew worked in silence. No one questioned the mission. No one asked why they were risking resources and time for a single unknown alien child, because the answer was already clear. She was alone. And to humans, that was reason enough. Meanwhile, far across space, the Galactic Council's grand chambers echoed with laughter. Holograms of star maps hovered in the air, marking threats and trade routes. Not once did they mention the signal. Ambassador Jervol of the Farnak species raised a curious brow. "Still no news on that child's pod?" High Chancellor Virel of the Council scoffed. Why should there be? That species is extinct. She is just ... debris floating in space. Others chuckled and nodded . But one council member did not laugh. Ambassador Talon of the Alari, the same species as Alari, sat in silence, his hands clenched beneath the table. He knew she was the last. His people had fallen, and now they would not even rescue a child. He didn't speak, because to do so might be seen as weakness. But something in his eyes burned. Back on Aurora's reach, the ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Contact. Sierra called out. We have visual on the pod. Raylan stepped closer to the display. The screen zoomed in. There it was, a tiny metal shell, scarred by debris, half frozen in the cold of space. Its surface was cracked. One of its thrusters had long since failed. And inside, the thermal scan flickered. Life signs are weak, Sarah said, but she's still alive. Raylan's voice was low and steady. Bring her in. Robotic arms extended from the ship, carefully catching the escape pod and bringing it into the medical bay dot. As soon as the outer shell was opened, icy fog hissed out. Lights flickered. The medical team rushed in, doctors, technicians, and specialists. The ship's AI assisted with data translation. They carefully removed the child from her capsule. Ilari was small, barely 10 years old in human terms. Her skin was a soft lavender hue, her hair a cascade of silver-white threads. She wore a torn ceremonial robe, the crest of her people scorched. She looked peaceful, but her body was weak, her breathing shallow. For hours, the medbay worked. Raylan watched from behind the glass, fists clenched at his sides. Finally, Dr. Elin stepped out. She's stable 4 now. Raylan exhaled. Will she make it? She will. But, Commander, she's malnourished. Her body's suffered major stress. If we hadn't found her when we did. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Raylan nodded. Good work. Later that night, Raylan sat alone in the ship's observation deck. The stars stretched forever outside the window. He heard the soft sound of footsteps. Turning, he saw Lieutenant Sierra approach. She's awake, Sierra said quietly. She asked for you. Raylan blinked. Me? She says. She remembers your voice. From the signal. From when you said, we're going in. Raylan stood. He entered the medbay gently. The child lay in a clean white bed, wires attached to her skin. Her large silver eyes looked up at him. Hello, Raylan said softly. Ilari blinked. You came. I did. No one else did. He nodded. I know. She looked away. My people are gone. The council. They don't care. Raylan sat down beside her. We're not the council. Silence stretched between them. Then she asked, Why did you come? Raylan thought for a long moment. Then he said, Because no child should die alone in the dark. As the days passed, Ilari recovered slowly. She walked the ship's halls, always with someone nearby. She asked questions, curious, polite, and quiet. The crew grew protective of her. She especially liked the stars. They don't look so lonely from here, she once whispered, but not everyone was pleased. The Galactic Council began to hear whispers. A human ship rescued the Ilari child. They're keeping her alive. They defied council decision. Some demanded punishment. Others demanded silence. And in secret, ships began to move. One night, the Aurora's Reach detected an incoming vessel. Sierra sounded the alert. Unmarked ship. No identification. Closing. Fast. Raylan's eyes narrowed. Raise shields. Don't fire unless they do. The ship didn't respond to hails. Then. It opened fire. Plasma blasts rocked the Aurora's Reach. Lights flickered. Alarms blared. Ilari screamed and ducked beneath the console. Raylan barked orders. Evasive maneuvers. Return fire. The crew moved quickly. The attacker was fast, but not prepared for human stubbornness. A barrage of human missiles struck the ship's engine. It spun, crippled. Raylan gave the order. Disable, not destroy. We want answers. Later, as the enemy ship was boarded, they found no crew, just remote control systems. But the data core held a message. The child is a threat. Dispose of her, or we will. Raylan's blood ran cold. He looked at Ilari trembling, hiding behind a wall, and he knew this was only the beginning. The medbay of the human scout ship, Resolute, was quiet. Hilari lay in a transparent stasis pod, her tiny chest rising slowly. Wires and soft lights surrounded her. Machines beeped gently. Her breathing was stable now, but she had not opened her eyes since they rescued her. Commander Raylan stood near her, arms crossed, his face tight with thought. Lieutenant Mira entered, holding a data tablet. She's stable, Myra said softly. But there's something else, something strange. Raylan looked over. Strange? She's not just any alien child, Myra whispered. Her DNA matches records from Neo. Old files, ancient files from the first contact archives. Raylan raised an eyebrow. Go on, Myra tapped the screen. She's from the Ilari species, a royal bloodline. Her people were once part of the founding council, before they were wiped out in the Athari Purge War, nearly 70 years ago. Raylan turned to look at the sleeping girl again. A royal heir, left to die in a drift pod. Myra nodded. Someone wanted her gone, Commander, and not just gone forgotten. Raylan's voice was low. Well, they failed. Across the stars, on a lush world of polished stone towers and glowing skies, the Galactic Council convened. The speaker, a tall insectoid known as Hiervin, stood before the assembly. We have confirmed that the human vessel Resolute has retrieved the Ilari child, he announced. Despite our decision to ignore the distress signal, a low buzz rippled through the chamber. Counselor Threx, a scaled and cold-eyed reptilian, spoke up. The Ilari are extinct. Her survival changes nothing. But she is of royal descent, said another. There are old treaties, sacred pacts, Threx hissed. Old oaths do not bind us now. Let the humans play heroes. They do not understand the danger of what they carry. What danger? Asked the soft-spoken Counselor Yura, a blue-skinned humanoid. Threx's voice dropped to a dangerous rumble. If the child lives, others will rise. The ghosts of old empires will stir again. We ended the Ilari for a reason. We cannot let their legacy return. The speaker nodded grimly. Then we must act quietly. We cannot afford war with the humans, but we also cannot let this spark survive. Back aboard the Resolute, Ilari awoke. Her eyes blinked open, glowing faintly violet in the dim room. Raylan stepped forward slowly. Hey there, you're safe now. She looked at him, confused. Her lips moved, but the translator implant wasn't active yet. Mira adjusted the pod, activating the auto-translation software. A second later, Alari's voice came through soft. Unsure. You're human? Raylan smiled. Yeah, name's Raylan. I'm the one who picked you up out there. Alari's eyes welled with tears. They left me, the others. They saw my ship. They saw my signal. Raylan sat beside her. I know. But not everyone turned away. She looked around slowly. Why did you come? Raylan shrugged. Because no one else did. Ilari stared at him for a moment, and then quietly. Thank you. Meanwhile, a shadow moved through space. A sleek alien vessel, unmarked, cloaked and armed, tracked the Resolute from a distance. Inside, a cold voice whispered, We found her. Begin preparations. The child must not reach Earth. Raylan gathered his crew in the main briefing room, projected a star map. "We've got problems," she said. Our long-range scanners picked up a stealth signature. "Someone's trailing us. Can we shake them?" asked Ensign Dow. "Not easily," Mara replied, "but we've changed course 3 times. They keep adjusting." Raylan looked at the map, then at his crew. "This isn't just surveillance. It's an ambush waiting to happen." Silence filled the room. Raylan spoke again. "We have 2 options. We run, hope Earth Command sends backup. Or," he pointed at a nearby star system, "we hide in the Sylvani Rift. Dangerous, yes, but it's full of ionic storms and gravitational shadows. Perfect for shaking a tail. And perfect for getting torn apart." Myra warned. Raylan's voice was calm. "I'll take that risk. For her." In the lower decks, Ilari sat by herself in the observation window. Stars drifted past. Mira approached quietly and sat beside her. "You okay?" Ilari didn't answer for a moment. "I was the only one. They saved," she whispered. "My people all gone. My mother told me to hide, that I was the last." Myra's voice was soft. "That's a lot for someone so young." Ilari looked up. "The council said she would be a liability, that her presence would bring nothing but danger, that Earth must hand her over." But Raylan stood before the council screen and said calmly, "She's not your responsibility anymore. She's ours." And behind him, the crew of the Vigilance stood tall, silent, united. No one would take her, not without going through every last one of them. Ilari sat near the observation deck of the Vigilant. The stars drifted past the wide glass dome, soft glimmers of light. That reflected in her wide eyes. She still barely spoke, but she no longer flinched when someone walked into the room. Raylan watched from a distance. She'd stopped hiding behind chairs. She even smiled once barely, but it was there. Dr. Halley approached with a datapad. "She's adapting, faster than we expected. Her species must have strong cognitive flexibility. She's a survivor." Raylan replied, "But she shouldn't have had to be." Halley nodded, then hesitated. "We received a message." Raylan raised an eyebrow. "From who?" "The Galactic Council." He sighed. "Let me guess. They want her. Officially, no. But they suggest that her unauthorized rescue may be seen as interference in local species affairs. They say Earth should reconsider harboring her." Raylan stared at the stars through the window, then said flatly, "We're not giving her up." In the council chamber, deep within the capital station, orbiting the central star of the Valkyrie system, a debate flared. "She is a child of a dead species," one said. "She holds no value to the galactic community," another added. "Letting her live creates political instability." Only one alien, a lean, silver-scaled diplomat of the Drival, spoke up. "And what message do we send if we abandon children simply because they are inconvenient?" But the room only shifted uncomfortably. Back on the Vigilant, Ilari had begun drawing strange symbols, glowing threads of energy. Raylan noticed them and brought the sketches to Halley. "She's not just doodling," Halley murmured. These are energy sequences, gravitational flow diagrams." "From memory." "She's remembering something," Raylan said. "Maybe what happened to her people." That night, Ilari woke up screaming. Raylan rushed to her side. The child trembled, whispering broken words in her own tongue. The universal translator tried, failed, then gave a partial reading. "Darkness came from the stars. They burned everything. No more home." Halley sat beside her. "She's not just traumatized. She witnessed something no one else did." "Then she may be the only one who knows what happened to her species," Raylan whispered. "And why?" The next day, 3 council ships appeared. At the edge of the Vigilance scanning range, unarmed, but not alone. Raylan was called to the bridge. "They're hailing us." "Ensign," Dury said. "Message flagged diplomatic. Priority level red." Raylan nodded. "Put them on." A stern-faced council envoy appeared on screen. "Commander Raylan, you are harboring a subject of interest to the Galactic Council. Surrender the child immediately." "No," Raylan replied. "This is not a request. And this is not your jurisdiction. This is human space." There was a long silence. Then the envoy smiled coldly. "You are making a mistake, Commander." The screen cut within hours. Earth Command received a formal protest from the Council. Demands, accusations, warnings. But something unexpected happened. The United Human colonies didn't back down. Admiral Veers himself appeared on Earth's broadcast. Line: "If the Galactic Council thinks we'll hand over a child to those who left her to die, they are gravely mistaken." And just like that, Alary's protection became official policy. Inside the Vigilant, tension rose. The crew trained harder, rotated watches. Weapon systems were brought online. Raylan addressed the crew. "We didn't ask for this, but we were chosen the moment we answered her signal. I won't force anyone to stay. If you want off this ship, say it now." No one moved. They had become more than a crew. They were her family now. Meanwhile, Ilari sat with her new friend Dury, the youngest ensign. She pointed to one of her drawings, a strange circle. Symbols around it, lines reaching outward like veins. "What is that?" Dury asked. Ilari whispered, "The gate? The gate? It opened?" Then they came. Who came? But Ilari just stared into the stars. That night, alarms rang through the ship. 3 council ships had crossed the neutral zone. Raylan rushed to the bridge. "Shields up. Arm weapons. Hail them." "No response," said Dury. "Hold your ground. Do not fire unless fired upon." But the ships didn't attack. They simply held position. Watching waiting down in the engine bay. Hallie stared at Alary's latest drawing. Her hands shook. Raylan came to check on her. Hallie looked up and whispered, "Raylan, this gate she's drawing. What about it? It's real." Or, at least, it was. A theoretical construct. A forbidden technology, capable of piercing galactic sectors. "Lost long ago?" Raylan frowned. "You think her people had it?" Hallie nodded. "Or worse, they opened it. And through that gate, something came. Not of this galaxy, not of this reality. And Ilari saw it, survived it, remembered it, and now. The Council wanted her gone, not because she was a burden, but because she knew a truth that could terrify them all." The human rescue ship Verity had been quiet for hours. The lights were dim. The engines hummed softly. Most of the crew was asleep. Only the night watch remained on duty, scanning the stars in shifts. But deep in the medical bay, something stirred. Ilari, the strange child they'd rescued from the drifting pod, sat. Upright, eyes wide open. She wasn't supposed to be awake. The sedation should have lasted longer. Yet here she was silent, alert, and staring at the wall as if she could see something no one else could. Suddenly, a low whisper echoed through the room. It wasn't in English. It wasn't in any known galactic language. It was something ancient. Ilari tilted her head. Her lips moved. No sound came out. Then the medical machines around her flickered, every monitor, every scanner, every sensor glitching like they were being jammed. Lieutenant Sarah, who had been watching from a nearby monitoring station, leaned forward. "What the hell?" She pressed her comb. "Bridge, this is Med Bay. I've got something weird down here. The girl's awake, and the equipment's going haywire." Static buzzed in response. No reply. Sarah frowned and tapped the com again. "Bridge, respond. I repeat, Med Bay reporting strange activity. Please acknowledge." Still nothing. Suddenly, The lights in the medical bay shut off, all except for the emergency red glow. Ilari stood up. She wasn't afraid, Dot, in fact. She looked like she was listening to something. Then she whispered, "They've found me." On the bridge, Commander Raylan jerked awake in his chair. Warning lights flashed. He wasn't supposed to be sleeping, but it had been 36 hours since the last shift change. Status report. He barked. No one answered, because the bridge crew was already trying to figure out the same thing. "Sir," said Ensign Kelso, "we're losing internal comms, long-range sensors, and propulsion control systems. All within the last 60 seconds. What?" Raylan's eyes narrowed. "Is this a systems failure?" "Negative. It's too clean. Like someone disabled us. From the inside." Raylan's mind raced. Sabotage? His first thought was pirates or enemy probes. But then he remembered the child. Med Bay. Moments later, Raylan stormed into the room with 2 security officers. His hand hovered over his sidearm, but the moment he stepped inside, he froze. Ilari was floating just a few inches above the floor. Her eyes glowed faint blue. Strange symbols shimmered in the air around her, flickering like holograms written in smoke. "What?" "In God's name," Raylan whispered. Sarah backed away, pale. "She said they found her." "Who?" Raylan asked. "Who found you?" Ilari slowly turned her head. "The ones who destroyed my world." Her voice echoed strangely, like it came from somewhere, far away and deep inside at the same time. "The ones who sent the hunters. They're here." Suddenly, Verity's proximity alarm screamed to life. Multiple unknown vessels detected. Outside the ship, in the void of space, 6 strange ships uncloaked around Verity. They weren't council ships. They weren't pirates. They were black, angular, and alive like machines with breathing metal. No markings. No heat signatures. No communications. Just death. They began to circle. Slowly, patiently. Like wolves. Bridge. Panic and realization. Raylan stared at the incoming data. Whatever these things are, they bypassed every sensor we have. We didn't see them until they were on top of us. "We can't move, sir," Kelso said. "Engines are locked down. Weapons offline. They disabled us." Raylan turned back to the med bay feed. To the child. "What do they want with her?" he asked quietly. A voice came through, soft, emotionless, and completely inhuman. It wasn't on COMMS. It echoed inside every crew member's head. Surrender, the last echo of the lost. "She is not yours." Raylan stood still. Then he responded out loud. "She's under our protection." The voice replied, "Then you will die with her." Ilari's warning back in the med bay. Ilari suddenly collapsed. Raylan caught her just before she hit the ground. Her voice was weak, trembling. "They are called Nulkin. They erase species. Galaxies fear them. The Council made a deal, abandoned my kind to them to save themselves." She grabbed Raylan's hand. "You are not supposed to find me. You are not meant to care." Her eyes locked onto his. "But you did." Raylan stared at her, this small, broken child with a weight far too heavy for her age. Then he made a choice. "We're not giving you up." Part ends with suspense outside, as 6 Nulkin ships charged weapons. Inside, the humans prepared for the worst. But then Ilari's eyes flared bright again, and the air around her shimmered. Suddenly, a shape began to form behind her, tall, glowing, alien, and the Earth Embassy on Teller Prime was silent. All human officials were ordered to stay inside. Security drones hovered above their building. Alien soldiers patrolled the streets. The Galactic Council had made it clear humans were not allowed to interfere with the matter of Ilari. Inside the embassy, Ambassador Tessa Moran watched a screen showing live footage of the detention center. Ilari was curled up in a cold metal cell, surrounded by force fields. Her small body trembled, her eyes red from crying. "She's just a child," Tessa whispered. "What are they doing to her?" "They call it quarantine," replied her aide, Corporal Singh. "But it's punishment. The council wants to make an example of her." Tessa clenched her fists. "And we're just supposed to watch?" Meanwhile, in orbit, Commander Raylan's ship, the Valiant Heart, was cloaked and hidden behind the gas moon of Teller Prime. They'd been tracking Alary's location ever since she was taken. Raylan stood with his crew in the war room. The air was tense. "They moved her to the high security center," said LT Mara, "surrounded by triple shielding and planetary defense batteries. No one's meant to get in or out." Raylan didn't blink. "We're getting her out." A silence followed. "Sir, that's council territory," said Pilot Dax slowly. "Breaking in would be an act of war." Raylan nodded. "Then we'll be quiet, fast, surgical." Back at the Council Command Center High, Lord Travick watched the data feed from the teller system. He sipped a golden drink and smiled. The humans are emotional, predictable. They will bark but not bite. Beside him, a Council AI model chirped. "Intercepted signal from the Valiant Heart, Commander Raylan's ship. Location unknown." "They may be cloaked in system." Travick waved his hand. "Let them watch. If they attack, we erase them." He looked back at Alary's image. "This child is not special. Her species was weak. Their death was natural order." Midnight on Teller Prime thunder rumbled across the planet, though no storm was present. It was the sound of something massive entering low orbit. The Valiant Heart had decloaked for only 5 seconds, just long enough to drop 2 stealth shuttles. Onto the planet. Inside the shuttles were black-clad human commandos. They were fast, silent, and trained for one purpose. Rescue. In less than 5 minutes, they landed near the detention facility. Drones disabled, guards neutralized, doors bypassed. Inside Cell Block 9, Ilari sat hugging her knees. A sudden sharp hiss of gas startled her. The door exploded. "Stay down." A voice called. She screamed, afraid, but then she saw it. A human. A helmeted figure reached for her. "Ilari, we're here. We're friends." She backed into the wall. The soldier pressed a button and removed his helmet. It was Raylan. Her eyes widened. "You came." He nodded. "I told you. We don't leave our own behind." Tears fell from her eyes as she reached out to him. The escape alarms blared. Council Command scrambled ships. Their defense net activated. Dozens of fighters launched, but the Valiant Heart had planned for this. From the moon's shadow, a second human warship appeared, the Resolute Dawn. Its massive cannons roared silently in space. Within seconds, enemy defense platforms were crippled. The fighters were scattered. Raylan's shuttle raced through the chaos, weaving between explosions and debris. "Ilari secured," he radioed. "Bring us home." The shuttle docked safely aboard the Valiant Heart. Ilari collapsed into his arms, exhausted. "You're safe now," he whispered. "You're home." Back on Earth, footage of the mission leaked online. A child's terrified face. The sound of her whisper. "They hurt me. Because I'm not like them." Earth wept. And it burned. Across every human colony, protests rose. Billions demanded justice. News channels played her rescue over and over. Ilari became more than a child. She became a symbol. The symbol of every innocent soul the Galactic Council had crushed. Earth's president made a speech. "We will not be silent. We will not be still. We are human. And we will protect those the galaxy throws away." Final scene. High Lord Travick stood before the council. Humans defied our laws. They breached our world. They dared raise weapons against us. But no one responded. Many council members looked uncertain. some even afraid, because the data from Earth showed something terrifying. Human fleets were mobilizing dot, not just one dot hundreds dot, and every ship bore a symbol painted on its side, a single teardrop, falling from a small alien girl's eye. The galaxy had turned its back on Ilari. But humanity? Humanity was just getting started. The stars above the planet. Elanter blinked silently, as if they were holding their breath. Far below, inside a hidden mountain base, Commander Raylan stood still. His eyes were fixed on the hologram, a bright red signal blinking steadily in the center. Around it, alien ships moved like predators closing in. Ilari sat in a chair beside him, hugging her knees. She wasn't the scared little girl they found in that escape pod anymore. She was stronger now, but fear still lingered in her eyes. The fear of being hunted again. "The Velari know she's alive," said Captain Morrow, entering the room. "They're sending a fleet. Big one." Raylan didn't blink. "Let them come." Tensions rise across the galaxy. News of Alari's survival had spread thanks to the Council's leak. The Velari Empire, furious that a human ship had rescued her, now called for her to be handed over. The child holds secrets of a dangerous species. The Velari ambassador declared at a special council meeting, she must be contained. Other council members nodded in agreement. Fear drove them, not facts, not compassion. Only one ambassador spoke in opposition. "Earth's, she's a child," said Ambassador Halden, voice calm but sharp. "And if you come for her, you will not find us unprepared." The room fell silent. The line had been drawn. Back on Islander, Raylan stood in the war room as red dots continued to appear across the star map. Enemy ships, hundreds, moving fast. "We have 5 days," Morrow said grimly. "Maybe 6. He turned to Ilari. "We need to ask you something." She nodded slowly. "Your people, the ones who made you, what were they trying to do?" Ilari looked down, then spoke softly. "They wanted peace, but they built weapons to protect it. I was part of that." Raylan frowned. "You?" "I can speak to machines. I can wake them." Morrow glanced at Raylan. Could she? Wake? Ours? The awakening they took her deep into the mountain. To the old vault and area, built around pre-human tech recovered long ago from deep space. No one could activate it, not even AI systems. Ilari approached the large metal wall. It shimmered with strange lights. She reached out. The moment her fingers touched it, the room pulsed with energy. Lights came alive. Walls shifted. Machines hummed. "She's doing it," whispered one engineer. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the vault, not from any speaker, but directly into their minds. Command accepted. Defender-class warform initiating. Everyone stepped back as a massive hangar door opened. Inside stood a sleeping giant and alien war mech, 3 stories tall, now waking up. The Velari strike early. The humans expected 5 days. They got 2 without. Warning, Velari stealth cruisers dropped out of warp and attacked outer defenses. Drones exploded. Communication arrays fell silent. But Elin, Tor wasn't helpless anymore. The warform Ilari had awakened, stepped onto the battlefield. Controlled by her thoughts, it moved with terrifying grace. Plasma blasts hit it and bounced off its energy. Shields dot inside the base. Raylan gave the order. Hold the line. Missiles launched. Fighter jets screamed into the sky. And Ilari, with eyes glowing softly, whispered, "I won't run this time." In orbit the second wave, the Velari flagship arrived. A massive crescent-shaped vessel, bristling with weapons. Captain of the Velari fleet sneered. "Prepare for orbital bombardment. Leave nothing standing." But then, the human response came. Dozens of human warships emerged from hyperspace. The Vanguard, Earth's dreadnought-class battleship, led the charge. Its hull gleamed with armor forged in solar furnaces. A message played across all frequencies. "You threatened a child," said Admiral Sora. "You threatened Earth. Now we answer." The battle began. Back on the ground, Valerie ground forces pushed hard, but the defenders held. Ilari, inside her awakened warform, fought like a storm. Raylan and his squad covered civilians. Drones zipped overhead. Smoke filled the skies. But then a new signal came. "Raylan," shouted Morrow. "They're not here for conquest. They're here to erase her. They're preparing a planetary detonation." Raylan's eyes narrowed. "Not on my watch." A desperate plan, only one option remained. Ilari would have to enter orbit, use the warform's core to disable the Valari fleet from within. "It could kill you," Raylan said, kneeling beside her. She smiled faintly. "You gave me a family. I can do this for you." He touched her shoulder. "Then we fight together." She stepped into the warform one last time without hook. Ending for Part 9As, the warform launched into orbit like a comet of fire. The Valari flagship locked onto her dot inside. Hallory's voice echoed through their systems. "You turned your back on Mercy. I won't." And then light exploded across space. Everything changed. The engines of Horizon's Reach roared silently in the void, moving swiftly toward the edge of the Varnak system, a place no human vessel had dared enter in over a decade. Ilari stood at the window of the observation deck, her small hands pressed to the glass. Her silver eyes reflected the distant stars, but they were no longer filled with fear. Now they carried something stronger, hope. Behind her, Commander Raylan watched quietly. "She's changed," whispered Dr. Sora, stepping. Beside him, Raylan nodded. "She's healing," but they all knew hope was fragile, and war was closing in. Meanwhile, at the Galactic Council, a meeting had been called. Emergency. Dozens of alien races filled the vast chamber. Screens showed images of the human ship heading toward Varnak territory. "They have no authority," barked the Varnak ambassador. "That child belongs to us. She carries classified Varnak genetics." "She was abandoned," replied the Terran representative coldly. "She is now under human protection." The council buzzed with angry voices. But Earth stood firm. For the first time in decades, humanity did not back down. Back on Horizon's Reach, the crew was on high alert. Varnak warships had been spotted. Not just one or two, a whole fleet. 27 vessels, whispered the tactical officer. "They're coming straight for us." Raylan took a deep breath. "Send a signal, one warning." He turned to Ilari. She was trembling, but she didn't hide. She stepped forward, looked into the camera, and spoke in her soft, clear voice. "This is Ilari of the Sarai, daughter of fire and light. I am not a weapon. I am not your tool. One choose my own path, and I choose them." She pointed to Raylan. To humanity. The Varnak response. They didn't even answer. Moments later, missiles launched. The first battle had begun. The fight Horizon's Reach was not a battleship. But she wasn't weak either. Defense systems lit up. Drones were launched. Human pilots jumped into fighter pods. Raylan barked orders. "Protect the bridge. Keep Ilari safe." The Varnik fleet closed in fast. Their ships were sleek, deadly, and heavily armed. Explosions rocked the hull. One blast nearly broke through the lower decks. Emergency lights flared. Smoke filled the air, but the crew held the line. Inside the engineering bay, Ilari, guided by instinct and memory, moved through the narrow passages. She stopped before a sealed chamber. "What's she doing?" A crewman asked. "She's unlocking." "Something," whispered Dr. Sora. "Something inside her remembers." With trembling fingers, Ilari touched the console. A soft hum filled the chamber. Symbols lit up. Suddenly, a hidden pod opened inside was Sarai tech, glowing, alive. Ilari, Sora shouted. What is this? But the child was already merging with it. The turning point Ellery walked back to the bridge. Her eyes were no longer silver. They now glowed gold. I can help, she said softly. What did you do? Raylan asked. She looked at him. I remembered what they tried to make me forget. Outside, the Varnak fleet prepared a final strike. But before they could fire, a wave of energy surged from the horizon's reach. It was not a weapon. It was a signal Sarai technology, awakened by Alari. The Varnak ships froze. Their targeting systems shut down. Power flickered. One by one, their ships began to retreat, not out of fear, but because something greater had just awakened, and it came from her. Aftermath, the battlefield was silent. On the bridge, no one spoke. Then Raylan smiled. You're full of surprises, kid. Alari smiled back, weakly. It's not over. They'll come again. But now we have a voice. Dr. Sora stepped forward. What exactly did you unlock? Alari looked at the stars. Something they thought was lost forever. A Sarai beacon. And there may be others. Closing scene far across the galaxy, another silent receiver blinked to life. Deep in a forgotten world. Something stirred. Another Sarai child hidden. Sleeping opened her eyes. The echo of Alari's signal had reached her. The Sarai were not extinct, and humanity was now part of something far bigger than they had ever imagined. The stars above shone, brighter than ever, but the galaxy itself had grown quiet. News had spread. A council tried to suppress it, but it was too late. Ilari lived, and she was under humanity's protection now. On the surface of Earth's lunar command station, thousands gathered to see her. Broadcasts were sent across all major human colonies, and even some alien systems intercepted the signal. Ilari, the last of her kind, stood beside Commander Raylan and the rest of the scout crew who had rescued her. But peace was still far away, because the Galactic Council was coming. They didn't like that a child they abandoned had become the symbol of humanity's defiance. They didn't like that Raylan had humiliated their silence with action. And they didn't like that hundreds of species, once loyal to the Council, were now asking questions. Raylan stood before Earth's defense. High Command. They'll make a show of force, he warned. They want to scare us, make us hand Alari over. General May looked out the window at the dozens of human warships orbiting Earth. Let them come, she said softly. They think we saved a child. What they don't realize is she saved us. 3 days later, the Council's fleet arrived. 100 warships. Giant, gleaming, intimidating. They didn't hail Earth. They didn't ask for talks. They pointed their weapons at Earth's moon, where Alari had found safety. Inside the command deck of the HSS Valor, Raylan stared at the incoming fleet. His fingers tapped on the console. Still no communication? He asked. None, replied his officer. They're preparing to fire. On the moon's surface, Ilari sat in a garden, built just for her flowers, soft light. The air warmed for her comfort. She watched the sky quietly. She could feel them, the same cold energy she had felt when her people died, the same silence, but something inside her had changed. Humanity had shown her love. Safety, purpose. Now she would stand with them. This is our family now. The Council's flagship sent a final message. Cold, emotionless. Surrender the alien child, or be punished for interference. Earth's reply came seconds later, a simple broadcast. From Ilari herself. She stood in front of a camera, her voice soft but strong. You left me to die. You called me unimportant. But they didn't. They saw me when no one else did. I will not leave them. They are my family now. Then Commander Raylan stepped beside her. We are not asking for war, but we are not afraid of one either. You want to test our kindness? You will meet our resolve. The first shot one of the Council ships fired. A warning blast dot had hit a human defense satellite. Debris scattered, but Earth was ready. Human warships moved into position. They were smaller than the Council ships dot, but faster. That stronger dot, built not just with weapons, but with purpose. And something else the Council never understood. They were built for protection, for loyalty, for people like Ilari. The battle begins the sky above. Earth lit up with fire, lasers, missiles, shields flashing. Explosions thundered through the void. Raylan's ship, the Valor, cut through enemy lines, flanked by drones and fighters. Don't aim to destroy, Raylan ordered. Aim to disable. We don't fight like them. We fight for something better. Council ships began falling back. Not because they were outnumbered, but because they didn't expect resistance this strong. They didn't expect humanity to risk everything for a single child. Ilari watched it all unfold from the lunar command. Towered out, her fingers glowed faintly. The ancient energy of her kind, once forgotten, now awakening dot. She touched the console gently dot, and her power moved through the systems. Like light through glass dot, the gift of her kind unknown to all. Ilari's people had a gift they could link with. Machines. Heal them. Strengthen them. She sent her energy into Earth's defense grid, into the ships, into the weapons dot, and for a moment, every human system ran at double efficiency. Shields held. Weapons locked faster. Communications became clear and flawless. Looked at General May and said in her soft voice, "Let me help." The humans didn't ask how. They just trusted her. Council retreats. The Council flagship was hit, its engines disabled by precise human fire. They called for a ceasefire, but Raylan didn't answer. He sent them coordinates. Not for surrender, but for talks. They had a choice: end this with pride or lose everything with arrogance. The Council paused. Then finally agreed. The peace table for the first time in centuries. The Galactic Council came to Earth. They sat across from human leaders, and Ilari, she didn't speak first. General May did. You created the rules that left her to die. We won't follow those rules. We won't return her, but we will offer peace. Not as followers, but as equals. The Council hesitated, but the galaxy was watching. Other species had seen Earth's courage, heard Ilari's voice. They wanted change. The Council nodded. Then Earth shall be given full Council status, and the child is under your protection. Later that night, Raylan stood under Earth's stars with Ilari beside him. Do you miss your people? He asked. She nodded. Every day, but I think they would be proud I chose to live. Raylan smiled. You didn't just live. You changed everything. She looked up at the stars. And for the first time, they didn't feel so lonely. She had found a family. She had found her place, and the galaxy, it would never forget what happened. When one child's cry was heard by the right people,